With supply chains becoming more complex, you need to stay on top of the latest logistics developments. So if you work with logistics, you need the Beyond the Box podcast from Maersk. It's the easy way to keep up to date with everything from digital disruption in logistics to the need for supply chain resilience in today's market. Find out more and keep ahead of the game with the Beyond the Box podcast on logistics insights at maersk.com/insights.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
This is Optimal Work Daily, episode 1359, 5 Different Options, Part 2, by Jillian Johnsrud of JillianJohnsrud.com. And my name's Dan, and I'm your host and narrator here on OWD. And if you listened yesterday, you know that we're finishing up a longer post that we read the first half of. So be sure to check out episode 1358 first if you haven't done that already. If you have, then you're ready for Part 2. So let's do it as we optimize your life. 5 Different Options, Part 2, by Jillian Johnsrud of JillianJohnsrud.com. Plan B. Save up 6 months' expenses. Build up the business alongside your regular job until it cash flows 6 months' expenses. Adding in, at 2 months if the business isn't on target, rent out a guest bedroom which will extend the 6 month savings to 8 months. At 4 months, if the business is still a little slow on growth, take on a part-time job in a similar field, in this case, maybe a nursery. This would help build up the savings for the winter. If that doesn't work out as hoped, Plan C kicks in. Plan C. Save up 6 months of expenses, build up the business alongside your regular job until it cash flows 6 months' expenses. At 2 months, if the business isn't on target, rent out a guest bedroom which will extend the 6 month savings to 8 months. At 4 months, if the business is still a little slow on growth, take on a part-time job in a similar field, in this case, maybe a nursery. Adding in, come fall, take a part-time contract job in an old career that could cover the expenses with the help of renting out the room. Maybe that doesn't seem possible, or the contract job doesn't come through. So, Plan D goes in a different direction. Plan D. Save up 6 months' expenses. Build up the business alongside your regular job until it cash flows 6 months' expenses. At 2 months, if the business isn't on target, rent out a guest bedroom, which will extend the 6 month savings to 8 months. At 4 months, if the business is still a little slow on growth, take on a part-time job in a similar field, in this case, maybe the nursery. Come winter, you decide to go back to your career full-time for 2 years to rebuild your savings while continuing to work part-time on your business and hopefully get it closer to covering 50% of your needed income. Of course, you can also map out plans E, F, G, and H. Resilient plans are created by combining multiple options into various sequences of events with lots of fail-safes. You never want just one plan that you blindly follow until the story ends with, "and then I was homeless." At each stage, you can set goals and benchmarks to let you know if you're on track to continue with that version of the plan, or if it's time to pivot to another plan or change up your options sequence. You might give yourself 6 months of time and resources to follow Plan A, and then at the end, you re-examine and pivot. Flexible thinking and creating resilient plans are crucial because 2 factors are at play. 1, you will gain new information as you go along. Once you are actually taking action on your plan, you'll learn some new things. In the planning phase, it's a lot of educated guesses and hypotheticals, which is fine, but you need to make space for things to change based on what you are learning about yourself, the job market, growth projections, or other factors. Maybe you planned a 6-month RV trip, but in the process of experimenting or at the start of the trip, you realize you hate driving an RV. It's time to pivot that plan. And 2, outside situations will change. I've met so many people who were planning a travel-filled mini-retirement set to embark in 2020. Turns out the pandemic had other ideas for lots of far-flung travel plans, so they needed to pivot. Some worked an extra year, and some bought a camper or RV and spent time exploring the great outdoors. Things outside of your control will happen. Some things you never saw coming. But if you have these flexible, resilient plans in place, you will be mentally and emotionally more prepared to make a big pivot. And sometimes things work out even better than any of your plans could have factored in. When we took our year-long mini-retirement, I didn't have any grand plans for starting a whole new professional chapter of my life. I had written down our list of 100-plus goals for the time off. One of those things was something to do with writing. I had tinkered with the hobby of occasionally writing in my 20s. It had been a few years since I had any sort of writing habit, and I was interested in starting to explore the hobby again. There was no scenario that in a few years my work and stories would be in major news publications, or that I would have a blog and a podcast, a coaching business, or be writing books. Yet, here we are. So, while you're planning out all these scenarios and options, create a little space for things to go better than you can imagine right now. The amount of times people talk about their mini-retirements and say, "It went better than I could have even imagined," is 10 times more than I hear, "It was a disaster." It's good to prepare for disaster, but create some space for magic as well. You just listened to part 2 of the post titled 5 Different Options by Jillian Johnsrud of JillianJohnsrud.com. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it filters out those incompatible applicants. So when you're hiring, the process is much faster, and you only have to consider applicants that are already likely to be a great fit. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/startup. So just go to Indeed.com/startup right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/startup. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Thank you again to Jillian for this terrific post, which we read in 2 parts for you. And you may have liked the sound of some of her coaching ideas that were mentioned in this article. Well, if you want to be coached by her, know that she looks at your big, long-term goals and dreams. Jillian will help you confront the challenges that have held you back in the past and find solutions. She examines all the details of your current situation, then works together with you to plot out a plan, breaking big goals into small, actionable steps and habits. She specializes in financial independence, or FI, planning with career transitions and creating or scaling service-based businesses. And if you go to her site, you can find out even more about her coaching practices and how to apply for a spot if you're interested. Again, that is JillianJohnsrud.com, Jillian with a J, and Johnsrud is spelled Johnsrud. But that's going to wrap up our episode and this 2-parters, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.